some Torah. Let's talk some Torah. We're talking Torah. Talking Torah.
Okay, Barakim V'Nivrahim, everybody. We're so happy you're with us again for another one of our special readings. And Hag HaSukkot Semeach. Let's see. So we're going to start off in Deuteronomy 19 today. And we are going to start reading with when Yehovah cuts off the nations whose land Yehovah your God is giving you, and you dispossess them and settle in their towns and in their houses. 3 towns you are to separate for yourselves in the midst of the land that Yehovah your God is giving you to possess. Measure yourself the way and divide in 3 the territory of your land that Yehovah your God is causing you to inherit. It shall be for fleeing there for every accidental murderer. Now this is the matter of the accidental murderer who flees there, that he may stay alive, who strikes down his neighbor with no foreknowledge, nor did he bear hatred towards him from yesterday and the day before. Or who comes upon his neighbor in the forest, chopping wood, and his hand swings away with an axe to cut wood, and the iron part slips off the wood part and reaches his neighbor so that he dies. He may flee to one of these towns so that he may stay alive. Lest the blood redeemer pursue the murderer, since his heart is hot-blooded, and overtake him, since the journey is long, to strike his life. Though his is not a judgment of death, since he has not borne hatred towards him from yesterday or the day before. Therefore I command you, saying, 3 towns you are to separate for yourselves. Now if Yehovah your God should broaden your territory as he swore to your fathers, and give you all the land that he promised to give to your fathers, indeed you are to keep all this commandment by observing it that I command you today, to love Yehovah your God, and to walk in his ways all the days, and you are to add for yourselves another 3 towns to these 3, so that the blood of the innocent not be shed amid your land, that Yehovah your God is giving you as an inheritance, and there be blood guilt upon you. But if it should be that a man bears hatred towards his neighbor, and waits in ambush for him, and rises up against him, and strikes his life so that he dies, and he flees to one of these towns, then the elders of this town are to send him and have him taken from there, and they are to give him into the hand of the blood redeemer so that he dies. Your eye is not to take pity on him, so that you shall burn out the innocent blood from Israel, and it will be well with you. You are not to move back the border of your neighbor from the first ones set as border in your inheritance, as that you inherit in the land that Yehovah your God is giving you to possess. 1 witness alone shall not rise up against a man for any case of iniquity, for any case of sin, in any sin that he sins. At the mouth of 2 witnesses, or at the mouth of 3 witnesses, a legal matter is to be established. When there arises a witness of malice against a man, testifying against him by defection from God, and the 2 men who have quarrel stand before the presence of Yehovah, before the presence of the priests or the judge that are there in those days, the judges are to inquire well, and if here a false witness is the witness, falsely he has testified against his brother, you are to do to him as he schemed to do to his brother. So you shall burn out the evil from your midst. Those who remain will hear and will be awed. They will not continue to do any more according to this evil practice in your midst. Your eye is not to take pity, rather life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, and foot for foot. Deuteronomy chapter 20. When you go out to war against your enemies, and you see horses and chariots fighting people many more than you, do not be overawed by them, for Yehovah your God is with you, the one who brought you up from the land of Egypt. And it shall be, when you draw near for war, the priest is to approach and speak to the people, and say to them, Hearken, O Israel! You are drawing near today to war against your enemies. Let not your heart be soft. Do not be afraid. Do not be in trepidation. Do not be terrified before them. For Yehovah your God is the one who goes with you, to wage war for you against your enemies, to deliver you. Then the officials are to speak to the people, saying, Who is the man who has built a house and has not yet dedicated it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the war and another man dedicate it. And who is the man that has planted a vineyard and has not yet made common use of it? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the war and another man make common use of it. And who is the man that has betrothed a woman and not yet taken her in marriage? Let him go and return to his house, lest he die in the war and another man take her. And the officers are to continue to speak to the people. They are to say, who is the man, the one afraid and of soft heart? Let him go and return to his house, so that he does not melt the heart of his brothers like his heart. And it shall be, when the officials finish speaking to the people, the commanders of the armed forces are to count by head the fighting people. When you draw near to a town to wage war against it, you are to call out to it terms of peace. And it shall be, if peace is what it answers you, and it opens its gates to you, then it shall be that all the people that are found in it shall belong to you as forced labors, and they shall serve you. But if they do not make peace with you and make war against you, you may besiege it. And when Jehovah your God gives it into your hand, you are to strike down all its males with the edge of the sword. Only the women and the infants and the animals, everything that is within the town, all the booty, you are to take as plunder for yourselves. You may consume the booty of your enemies that Jehovah your God gives you. Thus you are to do to all the towns, those exceeding far from you, that are not of the towns of those nations. Only in the towns of the peoples that Jehovah your God is giving you as an inheritance, you are to not leave any alive of breath. But you are to devote them to destruction, yes, destruction, the Hittite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, as Jehovah your God has commanded you, in order that they not teach you to do according to all their abominations that they do with their gods, and you sin against Jehovah your God. When you besiege a town for many days, waging war against it, to seize it, you are not to bring ruin on its trees by swinging away with an axe against them. For from them you eat. You are not to cut down, for the trees of the field are for the humans. Are they able to bring against you in a siege? Only those trees of which you know that are not the trees for eating, you may bring them to ruin and cut down, that you may build siege works against the town that is making war against you until its downfall. Deuteronomy chapter 21. If there be found a corpse on the soil that Jehovah your God is giving you to possess, fallen in the field, it not having become known who struck it down, your elders and your judges are to go out and measure the distance to the towns that are around the corpse. And it shall be that the town nearest to the corpse, the elders of that town, are to take a she-calf of the herd, with which no work has ever been done, which has never pulled a yoke. The elders of that town are to bring down the she-calf to an ever-flowing wadi, which has never had work done to it, and it has never been sown, and they are to break the neck of the she-calf there in the wadi. Then they are to approach the priests, the sons of Levi, for Jehovah your God has chosen them to attend on him and to give blessings in Jehovah's name, and by their statement shall be settled every legal quarrel and every case of assault. And all the elders of that town, the ones nearest to the corpse, are to wash their hands over the neck of the broken calf in the wadi. Then they are to speak up and say, our hands did not shed this blood, our eyes did not see. Purge your people, Israel, that you have redeemed, O Jehovah. Do not put innocent blood amidst your people Israel, so they shall be atoned of the blood. So shall you yourself burn out the innocent blood from your midst, for you are to do what is right in the eyes of Jehovah. When you go out to war against your enemies, and Jehovah your God gives him into your hand, and you take captive his captives, and you see amongst the captives a woman fair of form, and you desire her, and you should take her to yourself as a wife, she is to put off her garments of captivity from herself, and is to sit in your house, weeping for her father and her mother for a month of days. After that you may come into her and espouse her, and she may become your wife. Now it shall be, if you are not pleased with her, you must send her free in her person, but you may not sell her for silver. You are not to deal treacherously with her, since you have humbled her. When a man has two wives, one that is loved, the other that is hated, and they bear him sons, the loved one and the hated one, and the firstborn is the hated one's, it shall be at the time of giving of the inheritance to his sons that he has, he must not treat as firstborn the son of the loved one, in the living presence of the son of the hated one, the firstborn. Rather, the actual firstborn, the son of the hated one, he is to recognize as such by giving him 2/3 of all that is found with him, for he is the firstfruits of his vigor. For him is the regulation of the firstborn right. When a man has a son, a stubborn one, and a rebel, he does not hearken to the voice of his father or to the voice of his mother, and they discipline him, but he still does not hearken to them. His father and his mother are to seize him and to bring him out to the elders of his town, to the gates of his place. Then they are to say to the elders of his town, Our son, this one, is a stubborn one and a rebel. He does not hearken to our voice, a glutton and a drunkard. Then all the men of the town are to pelt him with stones, so that he dies. So you shall burn out the evil from your midst, and all Israel will hear and be awed. Now when a man has sin guilt resulting in a sentence of death, and is put to death, and you hang him upon a wooden stake, you are not to leave his carcass overnight on the stake. Rather, you are to bury him on that very day, for an insult to God is a hanging person, that you not render the soil tameh that Yehovah your God is giving you as an inheritance. Deuteronomy 22. You are not to see the ox of your brother or his sheep wandering away and hide yourself from them. You are to return them to your brother. Now if your brother not be near to you, or you do not know him, you are to bring it into the midst of your house. It is to be there with you until your brother makes inquiry about it, and then you are to return it to him. Thus you are to do with his donkey, thus you are to do with his garment, thus you are to do with anything lost of your brother that is lost by him, and you find it, you are not allowed to hide yourself. You are not to see the donkey of your brother or his ox fallen by the wayside, and hide yourself from them. You are to raise it up together with him. There is not to be a man's item on a woman. A man is not to clothe himself in the garment of a woman, for an abomination to Yehovah your God is anyone doing these. When you encounter the nest of a bird before you in the way, in any tree or on the ground, whether fledglings or eggs, with the mother crouching upon the fledglings or upon the eggs, you are not to take away the mother along with the children. Send free the mother, but the children you may take for yourself, in order that it may go well with you, and you may prolong your days. When you build a new house, you are to make a parapet for your roof, that you not bring blood guilt on your house if someone falls from it. You are not to sow your vineyard with two kinds, lest you forfeit as holy the full yield from the seed that you sow and the produce of the vineyard. You are not to plow with an ox and a donkey together. You are not to clothe yourself in shatnez, wool and flax together. Twisted cords you are to make yourself on the four corners of your tunic covering with which you cover yourself. When a man takes a woman in marriage and comes into her and then hates her and puts on her capricious charges, giving out against her an evil name, and says, This woman I took in marriage, and came near her, but did not find her signs of virginity. The father of the girl and the mother are to take her and bring out the signs of virginity of the girl to the elders of the town to the gate. Then the father of the girl is to say to the elders, I gave my daughter to this man as wife, and he came to hate her. Now here he has put out capricious charges, saying, I did not find in your daughter signs of virginity, but these are the signs of virginity of my daughter. He is to spread out the garment before the presence of the elders of the town. Then the elders of the town are to take the man and discipline him. They are to fine him 100 units of silver, and are to give it to the father of the girl, for he gave out an evil name upon a virgin of Israel. She is to remain his as a wife. He is not allowed to send her away all his days. But if this matter were true, that she were not found signs of virginity on the girl, they are to bring out the girl to the entrance of her father's house, and are to stone her, the men of the town, with stones, so that she dies, for she has done a disgrace in Israel by playing the whore in her father's house. So you shall burn out the evil from your midst. When there is found a man lying with a woman espoused to a spouse, They are to die, the two of them, the man who lies with the woman and the woman. So you shall burn out evil from Israel. When there is a girl, a virgin, spoken for to a man, and another man finds her in the town and lies with her, you are to take both of them to the gate of the town and to stone them with stones so that they die. The girl because she did not cry out in the town, and the man because he humbled the wife of his neighbor. So you shall burn out the evil from your midst. But if it is in the field, the man finds the spoken for girl, and the man strongly seizes her and lays with her, then he is to die, the man who lay with her, he alone. But the girl you are not to do anything. The girl did not incur sin deserving death. For just as the case of the man who rises up against his neighbor and murders his life, so is this matter. For in the open field he found her. When the spoken for girl cried out, there was none to deliver her. When a man finds a girl, a virgin, who has never been spoken for, and seizes her and lies with her, and they are found, the man who lies with her is to give the father of the girl 50 units of silver. His shall she be as a wife, because he has humbled her. He is not allowed to send her away all his days. Chapter 23. A man is not to take in marriage the wife of his father, that he not expose the skirt of his father. One wounded by crushing or cut off in the organ is not to enter the assembly of Yehovah. A mamzer is not to enter the assembly of Yehovah. Even to the 10th generation, no one from him is to enter into the assembly of Yehovah. An Ammonite or Moabite is not to enter the assembly of Yehovah. Even to the 10th generation, no one from them is to enter the assembly of Yehovah for the ages, on account that they did not greet you with food and with water on the way, at your going out from Egypt, and because he hired against you Bilaam, son of Beor, from Petor, in Aram of the two rivers, to curse you. But Yehovah your God was not willing to hearken to Bilaam, and Yehovah your God turned for you the curse into a blessing, for Yehovah your God loves you. You are not to seek their peace, nor their well-being, all the days for the ages. You are not to abominate an Edomite, for he is your brother. You are not to abominate an Egyptian, for you were a sojourner in his land. Children that are born to them in the 3rd generation may enter the assembly of Yehovah. When you go out as a camp against your enemies, take you care against anything evil. If there should be among you a man who is not ritually pure because of a night accident, he is to go outside the camp. He is not to come into the midst of the camp. Now it shall be toward the turn of sunset he is to wash with water, and when the sun has come in, he may come back into the midst of the camp. An area you should have outside the camp where you may go outside. A spike you should have along with your weapon, and it shall be when you sit outside to relieve yourself, you are to dig with it, and when you return, you are to cover up your excrement. For Yehovah your God walks about amid your camp to rescue you, to give your enemies before you, so the camp is to be holy, so that he does not see among you anything of nakedness and turn away from you. You are not to hand over a serf to his lord who has sought rescue by you from his lord. Beside you, let him dwell among you in the place that he chooses within one of your gates that seems good for him. You are not to maltreat him. There is to be no holy prostitute of the daughters of Israel. There is to be no holy prostitute of the sons of Israel. You are not to bring the fee of a whore or the price of a dog to the house of Yehovah your God, for any vow, for an abomination to Yehovah your God are the two of them. You are not to charge interest to your brother, interest in silver, interest in food, interest in anything for which you may charge interest. The foreigner you may charge interest, but your brother you may not charge interest, in order that Yehovah your God may bless you in all the enterprises of your hands on the land that you are entering to possess. When you vow a vow to Yehovah your God, you are not to delay in paying it. Indeed, Yehovah your God will require it of you, and it shall be reckoned a sin in you. But if you hold back from vowing, it shall not be considered a sin in you. What issues from your lips you are to keep, and you are to do as you have vowed to Jehovah your God, willingly, as you promised with your mouth. When you come into the vineyard of your neighbor, you may eat the grapes according to your appetite until you are satisfied, but in your vessel you may not put any in. When you come into the standing grain of your neighbor, you may pluck off ears with your hand, but the sickle you are not to swing above the grain of your neighbor. Deuteronomy 24. When a man takes in marriage a woman and espouses her, and it happens, if she does not find favor in his eyes, for he finds in her something of nakedness, he may write her a document of cut off. He is to place it in her hand and thus send her away from his household. Now when she goes out from his house, if she goes and becomes another man's, and should he too come to hate her, the latter man, then he too is to write her a document of cut off, placing it in her hand and sending her away from his household. Or if he should die, the latter man who took her for his wife, he may not return, the first husband who sent her away, to take her to be his wife, since she has made herself tameh, for it is an abomination before the presence of Jehovah, that you do not bring sin upon the land of Jehovah, that Jehovah your God is giving you as an inheritance. When a man takes a new wife, he is not to go out to the armed forces. He is not to cross over to them for any matter. Free and clear, let him remain in his house for 1 year, and let him give joy to his wife whom he has taken. There's not to be seized for payment a handmill or an upper millstone, for one's life would thus be seized. When a man is found to have stolen a person from his brothers, from the children of Israel, and deals treacherously with him, and sells him, die that thief shall. So shall you burn out the evil from your midst. Be careful regarding the affliction of Zarat. Do not take exceeding care to observe the rules, according to all that the Levitical priests instruct you. As I have commanded them, you are to carefully observe. Bear in mind what Jehovah your God did to Miriam on the way of your going out of Egypt. When you lend to your neighbor a loan of anything, you are not to enter into his house to take his pledge as a pledge. Outside you are to stand, and the man to whom you have lent is to bring out his pledge to you outside. And if he is an afflicted man, you may not lay down in his pledge. You are to return to him the pledge when the sun comes in, that he may lay down in his garment and bless you and yours will be righteous merit before the presence of Jehovah your God. You are not to withhold from a hired hand an afflicted and needy one, whether from your brothers or from the sojourner that is within your land, within your gates. On his payday you are to give his wage. You are not to let the sun come in upon him, for he is afflicted. For if he lifts his life's breath, that he for it he lifts his life's breath, that he not call out against you to Jehovah, and there be sin upon you. Fathers are not to be put to death for sons. Sons are not to be put to death for fathers. Every man for his own sin alone is to be put to death. You are not to cast aside the case of a sojourner or an orphan. You are not to seize for payment the clothing of a widow. You are to bear in mind that the serf you were in the land of Egypt, and Jehovah your God redeemed you from there. Therefore I command you to observe this word. When you cut down your harvest in the field, and you forget a sheaf in the field, you are not to return to get it. For the sojourner, for the orphan, and for the widow it shall be, in order that Jehovah your God may bless you in all the doings of your hands. When you knock off your olives, you are to not check the boughs after you. For the sojourner and the orphan and the widow it shall be. When you cut off grapes in your vineyard, you are not to glean after yourself. For the sojourner, for the orphan, and for the widow it shall be. You are to bear in mind that you were serfs in the land of Egypt. Therefore I command you to do this thing. Deuteronomy 25. When there is a legal quarrel between men, they are to approach the court of justice, and they are to render justice to them. They are to declare innocent the innocent one, and declare guilty the guilty one. And it shall be, if deserving of strokes is the guilty one, the judge is to have him to lie fallen, and is to have him struck in his presence, according to his guilt by number. 40 times he is to be struck, not adding any, lest you add by striking him too many strokes than these, and your brother be worthy of insult in your eyes. You are not to muzzle an ox while it is in threshing grain. When brothers dwell together, and one of them dies, and his son does not have the wife of his, and a son he does not have, the wife of the dead man is not to go outside in marriage to a strange man. Her brother-in-law is to come in to her and take her for himself as wife, doing the brother-in-law's duty by her. Now it shall be that the firstborn that she bears will be established under the name of his dead brother, that his name not be blotted out from Israel. But if the man does not wish to take his sister-in-law in marriage, his sister-in-law is to go up to the gate to the elders and say, my brother-in-law refuses to establish for his brother a name in Israel. He will not consent to do a brother-in-law's duty by me. Then the elders of his town are to call him and to speak to him, and if he stands there and says, I do not wish to take her, his sister-in-law is to approach him before the eyes of the elders. She is to draw off his sandal from his foot, and is to spit in his face. Then she is to speak up and say, thus shall it be done to the man who does not build up the house of his brother. His name is to be called in Israel, the house of the one with the drawn off sandal. When men scuffle together, a man and his brother, and the wife of one of them comes near to rescue her husband from the hand of him that is striking him, and she stretches out her hand and seizes him by his genitals, you are to chop off her hand. Your eye is to not have pity. You are to not have in your purse a stone weight and a stone weight, both large and small. You are not to have in your house an ephah and an ephah, both large and small. A stone weight perfect and equal you shall have, an ephah perfect and equal you shall have, in order that your days may be prolonged in the land that Yehovah your God is giving you. For an abomination to Yehovah your God is everyone doing these, everyone committing corruption. Bear in mind what Amalek did to you on the way at your going out from Egypt. How he encountered you on the way and attacked your tail, all the beaten down ones at your rear, while you were weary and faint, and thus he did not stand in awe of God. So it shall be when Yehovah your God gives you rest from all your enemies round about in the land that Yehovah your God is giving you as an inheritance to possess it. You are to blot out the name of Amalek from under the heavens. You are not to forget. That ends today's reading. We'll pick it up again tomorrow in Deuteronomy chapter 26. So Hag Sameach. I hope that your festival, your feast, your Moed is filled with joy. Shalom Aleichem.
We're talking Torah. Talking Torah.